Good evening, everybody who's watching. Tonight, we're joined by one of our most interesting guests to this date, kicker Dean Faithfull from the Edmonton Elks of the CFL. Sir, how you doing this evening?
I'm very well, thank you. Yeah, having a good day. So, how you doing?
Doing great. I'm very excited to have you here with us. Like I said, off camera, your story is just unbelievable. So learning more about you and I've come up with a lot of questions I want to ask. So hopefully this doesn't take up too much of your time.
Oh no, go for it. Yeah, no, I appreciate you having me on. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. The pleasure is all mine, I would say. So, of course, personally, I normally primarily cover American football, but tonight, due to your career and how it's kind of progressed, we're going to cover some soccer to start off. Basically, was soccer your first love?
Yes, it was. It was pretty much all I kind of did as a kid growing up. And in England, as a boy, that's all you want to do is play soccer. My dad had me and my brother boxing for a little bit. Which was interesting, yeah, and I enjoyed that too. But soccer or owl football, as we call it in Europe, was the main thing. That was all I knew. Yeah.
Interesting. So you end up attending a university out there to play soccer as well, and then transferred over to Florida Tech here in the U.S., right?
Yeah, that was a while back now, but yeah, 2007. Earned a soccer scholarship to Florida Tech. And so I spent 4 years there as a centre-back, as a defender. I had a great time there. So, ended up in Florida, and that was kind of the start of everything, really. Went on to play soccer for a bit longer after that. But, Florida Tech was the first kind of hop across the pond and into a different world of, America. My first time in America, too, that was.
How did that all come about? I mean, did you reach out to schools over here, or did they show interest in you? I'm kind of curious.
Well, we had in our area in Hampshire, England, there's a college called Taunton's College. And that was where I played for a couple of years and I studied. So our last 2 years of high school, it would be the equivalent. From 16 to 18, I was at Taunton's College, and we were one of the best soccer teams in the area, and they actually had a connection with a team in Illinois, so a university in Illinois, McKendree College. And so my teacher said to me, would you be interested in going out to the States, get your degree, and get a scholarship, so you get some of it paid for or all of it, depending on what they can offer you. And so I thought, that's a great opportunity, but I actually thought, well, maybe there's some other places I could go, at least explore what other options there might be, so I don't have to just go to Illinois. So I went out to America for 3 months, coaching soccer for a company, and I ended up in Michigan for a little bit, California, and then Florida. And that's how I got to hear of Florida Tech. So I was coaching out there, and then when I got home, I just contacted the head coach. I had some highlights of me playing, and just explained to him, I'd love to come to your university. Here's my playing tape. Here's my, resume. And it went from there. Long story short, I got an offer to go back that following September. And so, hopped on a plane and never looked back.
Wow, it takes a special kind of individual to jump to another country to attend college. So I mean, that's admirable in itself, let alone the fact that how you did it. That's an interesting story all the way around. But while I have the opportunity and we're talking about soccer, I figured I would pop up some of your highlights from that side of your career. So they will be muted. We can just talk right over them.
Sure.
So ultimately, you end up attending Florida Tech, and you're playing soccer at the time. Talk to us about the process of picking your next move after college. Our audience isn't as versed in soccer, so I figured you could explain this a little bit better for us.
Yes, I had 4 years, and then so I was 22, probably 23 at that time, and I nearly went into doing some coaching in Florida, but decided that I wanted to play more. And so I had through a connection through a coach, actually moved out to Australia, which is the clip you're looking at now. That's the Whitsunday Miners in Queensland, Australia. And it's an opportunity to play semi-professionally, earn some money, and also I worked as a sports editor for a newspaper whilst I was there. So yeah, ended up going to Australia for 2 years because I decided I just want to keep playing no matter what level that was. So I got to experience a different country and, you know, get that experience. And yeah, do you want to explain what I did after Australia?
Yeah, if you'd like. I mean, I had a couple questions kind of leading up to that, but feel free.
Right, no, I mean, yeah, go for it. I mean, all these clips are from, some are from Australia, some are from England, some are from Trinidad and Tobago. You know, I ended up, long story short, ended up playing in a number of different countries just through contacts and, you know, me kind of saving up some money and decided I'm going to Costa Rica because I had a friend playing there, and then, you know, I got signed to play in that league, played in Trinidad for a little bit, played in Belgium for a season, which is probably the best standard I played at. And just, yeah, enjoying it, trying to play as long as possible and got to travel the world whilst I did it.
That's basically exactly what my questions would have asked. I mean, more or less asking how you progressed from one place to another, because it was interesting to kind of follow along. You know, first you're in Australia, then you go to Costa Rica, and then you're in Belgium for a while. It's just very interesting how you kind of travel the world playing sports, which is kind of awesome to see. And, you know, now you're here in Canada playing yet another sport in another country. It's just, like I said, such an interesting career, how it's progressed. But so after, you know, the next few seasons, you ultimately end up stepping away from soccer and deciding to play football. How did that decision come about?
Honestly, by accident in some ways, in the fact that I'd gone back to Florida for a wedding, and I met up with my old soccer coach, Robin Chan, who's still the head coach of Florida Tech. And we were just sat, you know, having coffee and chatting, and he got a text on his phone from the Florida Tech football coach who was looking for a kicker. So it's just a bit of fate, really. And Channy, I'll call him Channy, he said to me, you know, are you interested in being a kicker? And at first I laughed at him, you know, I said, well, what do you mean, Channy? Because I was 33 at the time. So I said, well, what do you mean? Like, go back to college, play football, you know? He said, yeah, why not? Like, you can get your master's degree, you know, you're still in good shape, why not? And so I sort of said to him, yeah, okay, I'm interested. And I had a flight to London the next day, but I changed it because I had a trial with the football team. So the coach had met me. I'd never kicked a ball before, an American football, before in my life, never. But, you know, once you can swing, and, you know, my soccer background, it really helped. And I was on YouTube the night before, you know, how to kick an American football. You know, no joke. You know, I remember being on there looking at NFL players and thinking, all right, well, this is how they sort of do it, and I can copy it. So in the trial, I just did what I thought was a natural swing and did okay. So the coach, you know, by the end of the trial and by the time we walked back to his office, he offered me a scholarship and was like, we can teach you the rest. You know, you've got a natural leg power. We can teach you the rest and teach you how to play football and kick for a football team. And I was like, okay, let's do it.
And that was still at Florida Tech at the time, correct?
Yeah, that was still at Florida Tech. So then what happened was I went back to England to make a decision, because at the time I'd sort of almost retired from soccer. I was going to play a bit of semi-professional and just, you know, take a step back from it. And I was working as a project manager. So I had to make a decision do I leave my adult job and, you know, my grown-up life, and do I go to Florida Tech, do my master's degree and play football? And I made a decision quite quickly that I was going to go back to Florida. But then, so that was January 2020, and by February was when COVID popped up. So I was supposed to go back to Florida, couldn't fly. So I decided, well, what can I do now? I bought a couple of footballs on Amazon, a pair of kicking sticks, and went out to rugby fields in England and just kicked every day. You know, because COVID couldn't stop me and a couple of footballs going out. They were stopping big groups and sports, but I was like, it's me in a field. Like, who's going to stop me? So I just went out every day. And then May 2020 came around and I had an email from Florida Tech saying they cancelled the program. So I was gutted at that point. Like, I thought, I've been training for like 4 months, non-stop, and this opportunity's just gone. So I was pretty devastated, you know, to all the work I'd put in. I thought, well, who's gonna take me now? You know, nobody's gonna look at a 33. I was actually coming up 34. No one's gonna look at me at that time. I've never played the game before. I don't have any real film, but I did have film of me kicking on fields in England, and so I'd put them on YouTube and Twitter and said that I had eligibility and I was in the transfer portal. And I had about 15 different schools at D2 level reach out and say, hey Dean, we're interested in, you know, you as a kicker, can we talk more? And it just, one thing led to another, and CSU Pueblo was one of the schools that contacted me. And they were just really keen to talk, and we hopped on a Zoom call, and you know, they were really keen to bring me in. You know, just despite not having any experience, they'd seen the film and they had thought the same thing. Like, well, we can work with this. And so I'm really grateful to Colorado State Pueblo and John Riston was the head coach at the time for giving me an opportunity, because I still think, like, why? You know, why would you? You know, they obviously saw something in me, and I really appreciate that, because that obviously led to where I am now.
Yeah, absolutely. To be quite honest, you only had a year of eligibility left at that time, correct?
Correct, yeah, because, well, I could have played 2 seasons. So you can work it out where you do a semester off, and then come back for the following. So technically I could have had 2 full seasons, but again, COVID almost took one of those, because there was no football going on for one of the years. We were just training, so I lost that opportunity. So I only had 1 season in the end.
Gotcha. So kind of a risk on their part to kind of take you in at that point, but interesting. It worked out for both of you guys. I mean, it worked out for the school. You played pretty well in your first season of football, and then it also worked out pretty well for you, because you ended up in the professional world kicking as with the CFL now. So kind of interesting how it's all gone full circle for you. But
yeah.
How was your experience ultimately with CSU Pueblo?
I loved it, especially the football side of things. It was different going back as a 33-year-old student, you know, and you're hopping in with young lads and they're just starting their college lives, and I've been through that before. So I was well aware of that situation. So, you know, I lived off campus. I didn't get involved in any, you know, student stuff really. I just turned up, kicked footballs and went home, and just really focused on doing a good job for the team. And luckily as a kicker, you can sort of separate yourself. You know, you're off doing your own thing in practice a lot of the time. And most of the lads never even knew I was, you know, 33, 34 years old. You know, when I graduated, I had some of the players come up to me and say, we thought you were 25, like 26 or whatever, you know. So that was quite nice to know that they didn't really see me as this old man on the team. And, you know, I think when I look back at college, I wish I had more seasons, more time to progress, because I was chucked in the deep end. And so that first year, you know, I look back at some of those field goals that were missed or didn't go quite right, and it's tiny little details that you can fix and you didn't know at the time. And so yeah, I wish I had a bit more time to develop, because I kind of was just thrown in and had to snap and hold and learn in a live environment really quickly. But maybe that also helped, because it put me in a pressure situation straight away. And so yeah, I loved my experience down at Colorado State Pueblo, and the coaches were great. Riston was great, and I've got some lifelong friends from Colorado now, and I would consider Colorado one of my homes away from home because of that now. Really special place for me, and I'll be going back in the off season when I'm done with the Elks this year. So yeah, love Colorado, love it.
Very nice, very nice. Well, obviously, as you know, that's kind of why we connected. I'm a Colorado native. Colorado State Pueblo is basically my backyard, quite honestly. So kind of interesting. Yeah, I'm about an hour away, but that's a little bit of an exaggeration. But anyway, you ultimately end up playing in a great season. You converted 7 of 12 attempts, kicked 20 extra points. You also handled kickoffs, did very well on that. At this point, did you still have an intention of pursuing professional football?
Yeah, it was in my thoughts. Once I'd started learning myself and out on the field, I did realise I had a talent for it, and I thought, well, if I'm going to move across the world again, away from home, and I'm going to go and do this, then why not at least give it a go to the next level? Because some of it's kind of fate. You think, well, I've been given this opportunity, how do I make the most of it? I could just say, oh, I'll have 1 year in college, get my master's degree and leave it. But no, I had in my head, like, I want to give it a go. And I knew the odds were against me. I know my age. I know what people view that as. And so I just thought, well, just give it a go. And even if it's a year or 2 years after you graduate, give it some time, really go for it, train hard and see where it takes me. So yeah, I always had aspirations of trying to go to the next level and at least giving it a go to know that I tried, if that makes sense.
100%. So yeah. I assume immediately after college you sought out an agent and started pursuing professional right away.
Yeah. I graduated and just kept on training. I also set up my own company, Game Day Kicking. So I'd also decided I want to coach also. So I thought, well, how could I help fund myself and train at the same time? Stay in the sport, stay fit, and also help other athletes have an opportunity like I did. So I set up Game Day Kicking, and then just trained. I worked when I could, and then trained every spare second I could too, and eventually got an agent. And then that's when we started talking about the CFL. Was when I linked with my agent.
Absolutely. And then you're with Pro Level Sports, correct?
Yes.
Very nice. Great agency. From what I've seen, they've had a lot of success putting players outdoors. So definitely awesome to see you be another one of their success stories for sure. With Game Day Kicking, are you primarily training younger kickers, or is it just kind of all over the board?
It ranges. Yeah, I think the idea was to initially help younger kickers develop, and sometimes even it might be soccer players or rugby players that have never kicked a ball before, to actually plant a seed in their mind that here's another opportunity. If soccer or rugby isn't quite your thing, you could come and kick American footballs or Canadian footballs or whatever it might be. And so it's mostly younger athletes, but I've trained some college age athletes, and there's a couple in Colorado that I work with closely and still stay in touch with. And it's mostly younger athletes. But obviously the age I am, I also have a few older fellas reach out and say, look, I'm 29, 30. Do you think I could have an opportunity to play somewhere? And I'm honest with them. It's difficult, but there's opportunity to play in the leagues in England, or the European League might be an opportunity for these older players, or even college. If you're good enough, there might be a university out there that will take a chance on you, like CSU Pueblo did me. So it ranges, but mostly I think my goal is to help develop younger athletes and get them to a high level and help them get opportunities in college and beyond. That's my goal.
Absolutely. And just for anybody watching, primarily all these highlights are coming off from the Game Day Kicking YouTube channel, so make sure you check that out as well. And then So there was a year gap in between you graduating from Colorado State Pueblo and ultimately stepping into the global draft for the CFL. How did you spend this year away from football? Was it ultimately focusing on game day kicking?
It was a mixture between focusing on game day kicking and training, and things just didn't happen straight away, and that was just how it worked. I had to figure out the pathways. I had to figure out, how do I get my film in front of people? How do I contact the CFL? How, the NFL or any of these leagues? How do I go about it? Because it's not easy. It's it's difficult to figure out that pathway. So at first it took a while to figure it out, and I also wanted to keep developing a bit. I felt like if I just trained enough, I could get to a level where I could reach out to agents and attend some combines. I went to a kicking combine in Arizona, Gary Zorner's, which is a pretty yeah, there you go. You've got it up there. Which is, a lot of the best kickers in the country will attend something like this to showcase their skills. And it's a great environment because you get to kick against some of the best other kickers in college and some free agent pros. So I felt that was so beneficial for me too, was to watch these free agent pros that have played in the NFL, and watch how they kick. So yeah, I spent that year doing these kind of things, the combines, and then finding an agent who would represent me, and obviously pro level agency. I'm very thankful for them for wanting to represent me and giving me a chance, and they believed in my ability. And so yeah, and then it was all about, okay, how do I get in front of, if the CFL is a target, how do I get in front of these coaches? And we sent film out, and you enter the global draft. And then I also saved money to attend a tryout for Edmonton Elks in LA. So that was something I did. That was right towards the end of the year, April time of this year. And yeah, just turned up. I had to try out, kicked as well as I could, and yeah, next thing I got the phone call from the Edmonton Elks on draft day. So yeah, that year was just spent training. I was in Colorado, mostly in Denver, and between Pueblo, and I was also helping out the football team, the kickers at CSU Pueblo, for that fall season last year. And Sullivan Moon was the kicker then. He's still on the team now, and helping out the kickers there, and helping out the men's and women's soccer at CSU Pueblo. So I was helping with the goalkeepers and ball striking. Yeah, so I forget all that stuff happened too, because there was a lot going on last year too. But yeah, I was doing that. We went to the national finals with the men's soccer team, and so I had all that going on too, whilst training and having these thoughts of getting a professional opportunity, down the line.
That's amazing. So still kind of trying to help the next generation of football players and soccer players get to their dreams while you're still pursuing yours. That's one of the most amazing parts of this whole journey for you that I found so interesting, is that you didn't take the path that everybody else normally takes to get to where you're at, yet here you are, still prevailing through all the would-be, not necessarily obstacles, but things people would pursue or perceive as obstacles, with your age being older than most rookies, and then being older than most college graduates when you ultimately entered the draft in the first place. Just the way everything's progressed for you has been amazing, and I would think an inspiration to other players that may think that the clock's passed them by. Maybe they refire it up and start training again, seeing your story, which would be awesome. So talk to us about how it felt ultimately getting drafted to the Edmonton Elks, and ultimately, taking your journey to the next country to play another sport.
Yeah, no, it was amazing. And to go back to your points you just made as well, it's like, yeah, hopefully I can inspire some other people, because I have this attitude, and I do joke about it, in that, I have a delusional kind of attitude. No, I wouldn't say delusional, but I say delusional, meaning I didn't listen to anybody but myself. Trusted myself, trusted my ability, and just thought, well, the only way this is going to happen is if I believe at what I'm doing, and if I work as hard as I work. I've got to ignore the outside noise. I've got to ignore the fact I'm 34, 35, and just go for it, because it's the only way it's going to happen. So yeah, hopefully I can inspire people. And I felt really proud when I got the call from the Elks, because I'd been through all of that. I'd been through, you go through battles in your mind throughout that year before, this last year gone. There were times I thought, should I be doing this? Should I go home? Should I get a job? Should I, you go through every question just to make sure you're doing the right thing. But I'm proud of myself that I stuck with it. And yeah, when I got the call from the Elks, I was just really proud and happy that I could have an opportunity to showcase what I knew I could do. So yeah, really, that was a really happy day, obviously.
I can only imagine, especially after everything you've gone through to get to that point. I mean, once again, just an amazing journey all the way around. But anyway, you're in a bye week currently. It was week 17. You're heading up into week 18 for the Elks. So far, you've been doing amazing. 21 of 26 on your field goal attempts, 30 conversion attempts. How do you feel so far after 2/3 of your first professional season passed?
Yeah, well, really confident now. I think it took me a little while at the beginning to just get used to how the league worked and how games worked, and so you're going through that learning process too. Like I might be 36, but this is my first year playing professionally, so you're learning all the different stuff and the pressures that come along with that. But yeah, no, feeling great, happy with how I performed. I even think I could be in a better position, and I think I will be going forward. This year is a huge learning curve for me, and it's also important I perform. It's not just a year that I learn. I have to perform. There's no time to go, well, give me a year and then next year I'll be better. But I will take this year and learn as much as I can, and I think going into next season or hopefully going into the postseason, this year, all being well and us doing what we need to do, I can just keep climbing and keep getting more better and more confident. And that comes with just time with our, the three of us, the snapper, Pete, Jake, the holder, and obviously me, the kicker. Our relationship is really close now, and we've, got used to each other's different ways of doing things, and it all just becomes about rhythm, and that takes time. So yeah, feeling really confident at this point.
How has the coaching been out there for you with under Mike Shepard and Michael Daniels?
Yeah, they're great. Yeah, we have a really good relationship, as a special teams. Yeah, they're brilliant. They've been brilliant with me, really supportive. They're always there in their office. They're always on the end of the phone if I need to talk to them. We review film constantly. And so, yeah, they've been a real help in me getting used to, this new life in Canada and this new life in the CFL. They've been huge in helping me transition to that. And so, yeah, can't thank them enough either. Just really supportive of what I do, and they understand kickers, and they understand that, how we need to train and when we need to rest and when we need to work harder. And so, yeah, I think between themselves and the Elks and Chris Jones, it's been, I've enjoyed every minute so far.
Absolutely. And speaking of enjoying it, you guys were able to break a very long-standing streak for the Elks in home losses. So you were able to get the first home win, and I believe 20 attempts, if I'm not mistaken, this season. So talk to me about the feeling that you guys had being able to break that streak and ultimately getting Edmonton fans a win at home for the first time in a long time.
Yeah, really nice feeling. Really nice because, although a lot of us weren't here last year, we still understood, what had happened. We still understood. And the players that are still here, and they've been here a while, that have been through that, we understood from them, what happened. And, we knew how much they wanted to win. And you just feel, in Edmonton, you feel it as well. The fans you bump into, they just want success and they want something to be happy about. And so, yeah, when we broke that, it was just, Obviously, it was a weight off the shoulders a little bit, because we're okay. We can brush that one off now, but it was also, we moved on from it quickly. We celebrated that moment. Okay, it's done now, and now we move on because, we had to think about the next game because we obviously started the season not as great as we'd like to. So even though we got that win and as happy as it was all about the next game straight away. Okay, we need to perform again, and so I think we've done that since that game. But yeah, it was obviously really important just to break that, just to shut up some people, not to be rude, just to stop that noise and us to move on and be the team we know we can be.
Absolutely, and I don't think that's rude at all. I think sometimes the critics can be quite loud, especially when you're at this level. But it seems like the Elks have kind of found this spark thanks to a lot of guys that have changed the culture there. But one guy in particular who kind of entered the lineup mid-season was Trey Ford. How did the energy in Edmonton change after he kind of entered the lineup for you guys, and ultimately you guys started finding some victories?
Yeah, it did change. Like, obviously, Trey come in his first game and did really well, and it was a little spark just in the city. And Trey being Canadian, obviously the fans love that. They've been calling for him to be part of it for a while, and yeah, it was just, I think any of our quarterbacks are really good and can do a job, and it just happened Trey come in and did a really good job himself. And yeah, so the energy changed because it was exciting. We were playing good football again, and that we knew we had that in us. Those first 9 games, it wasn't like we were that different of a team. Obviously, we weren't playing that well, but we knew we had the ability in us, and obviously Trey has just helped spark that. And everyone else has stepped up too. The offense and the defense are doing their jobs, and I think it's been a really collective effort since Trey's come in.
100%. One man makes no football team, that's for sure. But it definitely seems like you guys have started to turn things around, and you're still in the playoff hunt, Week 18, which Edmonton could not say last season. So definitely a good step forward already. So obviously, given that you're 36 currently, one of the questions I'm sure everybody's asking you is, how much longer do you feel you can play? I mean, you're just starting out in professional football. You're playing a position where you're not really taking the wear and tear of, say, a wide receiver, an offensive lineman, or something like that. So, I mean, could we see you playing into your 40s?
100% is a goal of mine. I set goals, and I look after my body. So that's something I have obviously thought about in depth. And I would like to say I have 10 good years in me, as long as I stay healthy, as long as I stay fit. And that's very much my responsibility, and you're right with the wear and tear, but also as a kicker, you do wear and tear one particular part of your body, and that can be equally as, damaging over time. And so I just have to be careful of that. I do the right things in the gym, I do the right things with my diet, and that gives myself the best chance to last a while. So I have a goal in my head of reaching 46. We'll see if we get there, but why not have the goals? At least it'll keep me focused, and it'll keep me, having something to aim for. So that's my personal goal.
Interesting. I mean, I could definitely see it the way you're kicking at this point. You're just learning the position. I can only see it going up from here. One quick last final question for you. How has your overall experience in Edmonton been? I mean, I know there's been a lot of, losing, which nobody likes, but overall, how's the fan support for the team there? How does it compare to some of the countries that you played in before?
I've loved it since I've been here. Even the beginning, even the losses at the beginning, obviously as a competitor and as a professional, you want to win, you don't want to lose, but if you can take positives from it, I think that's a good way to look at it and try and learn from. So, I try to take every positive since I've been here, and whether that's just getting to play and playing at a different stadium, and playing under different lights and against different teams, and the fans have been great, really. The fans we meet on the streets or around the stadium are always really supportive. They always want success, so that has helped. Mostly it's been positive messages, and they say, keep going. We know it's going to come, and eventually it came. Eventually we got those wins and showed everyone the ability we have. So yeah, I've loved every minute of being in Edmonton. Just got to focus on football. I've not done too much exploring, a little bit of kayaking on the river. Edmonton's got a really beautiful river. But other than that, I'm just focused on football, because I know that in a few weeks' time, whenever that may come, we're done. Season's done, and then I can focus on other things. But for now, it's all football. And so yeah, I've loved it.
Absolutely. So obviously we talked about game day kicking a little bit, and where can we find that, and how can players get in touch with you if they want to work with you this offseason?
Yep, so I have a website, gamedaykicking.com, and then Instagram is @gamedaykicking, and the same for Twitter. So if anyone wants to reach out, they can jump on Instagram, welcome to DM me. The same on the website, there's a contact page. And even if it's just you've never kicked a football or you're interested in it, I welcome people to send me a message. I'm never going to ignore you. I'm never going to, not say anything back. I'm always willing to help. So, any questions people have about getting into the sport, transitioning from soccer to American football or Canadian football, or any questions about my journey, I welcome people to contact me, and hopefully I can inspire them to, buy a football on Amazon and head down the path that I went on.
Well, I can definitely attest to the fact that you are open to DMs. That's how this all happened. So I appreciate that once again. When you ultimately do hang up the playing career, are you looking to get into coaching full time?
I think I would love to, yeah. And if that's kicking specifically, then I would love to do that. And, hopefully that's with game day, and perhaps I can be helpful to the CFL, depending on how long I'm here. They have their global program, and, maybe I can be helpful in helping the CFL out too, and give back to them because they gave me this opportunity. So maybe I can give back to the league as well and help them find global talent out there. But yeah, I would love to keep coaching. I definitely wouldn't want to give up sport of any kind. I love being in a competitive environment. So even when my body gives up, I think I'll keep coaching and I'll keep being involved because, I love that side of it.
I love that. And something tells me you got a long time before your body gives up. I've seen a couple of kickers kicking 50 years old recently in indoor football, but still nonetheless. But thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. Have a great rest of your night. And thank you once again for coming on and telling us a little bit more about your story.
No, I appreciate it. Like you said, repping Colorado and where you're from. And I just appreciate you wanting to talk to me and, taking the time out of your day to speak to me too, because it's still crazy to me that, people want to talk to me, but, I'm going to embrace it as long as possible because one day nobody wants to talk to you, right? So I'm going to embrace it while it's here. And, so what I mean is I just really appreciate you wanting to hear my story. So I appreciate it. Absolutely.
And I'd love to have you back on in the future when we talk about where you're at. Hopefully when you win a ring here in a couple of years.
That would be nice. Yeah. Anytime.
Absolutely. Well, have a great rest of your night. Once again, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thanks very much. Appreciate you.
I'm a game changer. I'm a game changer. I'm a game changer. I'm a game changer.